And all right, there we go. Excellent. And please stay on mute when not speaking. Please use the chat feature. But I don't think we're going to have a huge group, so we can probably unmute if people have questions. You can also use that raise your hand feature. I think everybody's gotten to know Zoom pretty well. So just a few reminders there. And just asked everybody to put in the chat your name, where you work, and your county location. Okay. So we've got Maxine with Denver After School Alliance. Good morning, Maxine. Eric with Mile High 360 in Denver. Lakeisha Hodge, Struggle of Love Foundation in Denver. Heather Interests, DPS Denver. Jenna Gannon, Pagosa Arts Initiative, Arcoleta County, Pagosa Springs. Chase, co-owner of the School of Breaking, Arapahoe County, Aurora. Reagan with DAA Denver, Jenny, Scholars Unlimited, Denver, Bobby Ashley, Colorado Springs, El Paso County, Katrina, Denver, and 6 surrounding counties, Denver YMCA, Lisa Holmes Swaney, YMCA of Northern Colorado, Boulder, Larimer County, and Weld counties, and Tracy, Academy of the Arts and Knowledge Community Learning Center, Fort Collins, Larimer County, Carrie Adams 12, wonderful, this is great. Good morning, Yoli, Joy, Riverside Education Center, Mesa County, Natalie, Mile High 360, Denver, and then Viva Wellness in Denver. That's great. I'm so glad to see a variety of people here today for this conversation, and all the different counties that are being represented. That's what we really hope to see as we talk with you all about our work. So my name is Megan Nice. I am with, there we go. I am Megan Nice. I'm with Colorado After School Partnership, and we are part of a 50-state after school network that is working to create partnerships and policies to develop a sustainable after school and summer learning system in Colorado. In addition to our advocacy work, we also work on quality system development, professional development, and increasing STEM and career college readiness opportunities in after school. And most of you are aware of Denver After School Alliance. Denver After School Alliance is the after school network for Denver, or DAA. They are building the capacity of Denver programs through their professional development program, DAA Learn, their information system and program locator, DAA Connect, and through their collaboration with funders, policymakers, community leaders with DAA Advocate. So we, both CAP and DAA, are working on the same things. We are working to support out of school time in Denver and in Colorado to essentially increase funding and opportunities for after school and summer learning for youth and families in Colorado and in Denver. So we have a shared mission. We know in Colorado the unmet demand for after school programs has reached an all-time high, with more than 398,000 children who would be enrolled in a program if one was available to them. And we know that for every one child in after school, 5 more are waiting to get into a program. And so Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind sharing a link to the one pager that we created that has some more data, and what we're sharing with you is from the America After 3 p.m. report. So DAA and CAP are after school advocates. We believe in the power of after school and summer learning, and we know that funding of comprehensive after school programs in Colorado is insufficient. And we have teamed up to raise up this lack of funding. And we decided that the best place to start was through a provider voice. And so we created this survey to find out, to gain an understanding of the comprehensive after school funding landscape. So many of you probably completed the survey. And if you didn't, we're going to reshare that link so that you can. But today we are going to go over the survey. We're going to share the results with you and hear from you what you think we might have missed. And while we have an idea of the next steps, we want you to help shape our next steps, help us plan for what to do next and how to best support the field. All right, so who completed the survey? We had 28 total responses. 23 of you are comprehensive after school, so that's every day of the week and also on during the summer. We had 5 content specific, so those are organizations that have a particular focus. Could be like STEM or sports or something like that. So we had 5 people that are part of a content specific program, and 20 Denver area programs and 6 programs outside of Denver. All right, so this first slide, one of the questions we asked, since 2015, has your organization's number of sites, operating programs, and youth served grown or remained the same or decreased? So nearly 68% of you said that you have had an increase in sites, programs, or youth served since 2015. What we wondered though, has your increase, your expansion of your services, is it meeting the need for your community? Or are there still underserved youth and families that you are not able to reach? So I'm going to pause there and just let people put in the chat. Do you think that this increase is covering the need? Okay, well, not even close, not at all. Right. Right. Okay, thank you. Any thoughts or comments there? And I also want to invite our partners at Denver After School Alliance, Maxine and Reagan, if you have anything you want to add at any point, please jump in. All right, on to the next slide. This is another question we asked. Have you experienced gosh, sometimes the words just don't come out. Government and corporate funding for OST increasing, remaining steady, or declining since 2015? Philanthropic. Help me, somebody. I don't know why I can't say the word. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Can we edit that? Can we edit that out, Jennifer? On this question, many of you experienced an increase in your funding. 50% of you experienced no change in corporate giving. So you'll see what the responses were on there. Does that seem in line with what you're experiencing? Anything to add to this one? Okay, so our next slide. More than 62% of you feel somewhat secure for 2022 and 2023. So this question was about thinking ahead to the next school year. And we asked how secure you feel about the level of funding. 62% of you felt somewhat secure, 20% are very secure, and 18% are not feeling secure. And of course, our goal is for everyone to feel secure, more people in that very secure space. Okay, so here are the 4 key takeaways.
Megan, sorry, I don't mean to jump in. Just real quick, Eric just posted in the comment, I think it's hard to say, according to the last question, because of COVID and the flood of funding that is now gone away. So just wanted to jump in and add that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for raising that up. And then I also see Chase said not for all types of programs, dance, music, and art. So not experiencing an increase in funding in that area. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just as an FYI, that was not me, Eric, who wrote that. It's Natalie Martinez, who's on my link. And so it's Natalie from Mile High 360 who wrote that comment.
Okay.
I want to give credit where credit's due.
Okay. Hi, Natalie.
And Jenna Gannon, she just kind of came in and said she agrees. She agrees with that, Eric and Natalie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here are what we found to be the 4 key takeaways. Okay, so we found a question on the survey was, what has you most concerned about funding in 2023 and beyond? And we found 4 themes to your responses. ESSER funds and the American Rescue Plan have the potential to expand after school and summer services. But when those funds end, we are anticipating a cliff effect. This means there will be a demand for funding that could outweigh the availability. Many of you have experienced an increase in funding due to these pandemic supports, but they are time limited, as we know. We also read that some people said funders are focused on crisis management right now and not on youth development and prevention. So what will happen after the pandemic is done, which is going to be one of these days, right? What's going to happen with the funding of these supportive services? We've had this increase in funding, and then what? Another thing that people talked about was just that constant need to fundraise. You're having to constantly work on raising funds, and we feel that you are providing an essential service. You are educating youth, and yet you have to continually be asking for money. And we would like to see something be permanent in place so that you aren't having to always do that. Another piece of feedback we got and another theme was just the concern that there wasn't enough general operating funds, that a lot of your funding is specific to certain metrics and grants that you have to reach, and you don't have the flexibility that you need, and that the funding isn't long enough. It's a lot of short-term funding. So these are the themes that we saw in the survey. Another question we asked was about your funders. We currently have a list of 69 funders that you're working with and another 52 that you're looking to work with in the future. And this is the top 20 most listed funders. So why did we ask for this? Because one of the next steps that we think makes sense is to reach out to them, to thank them, and to encourage them to continue their funding, but also to expand their funding, to start to get them thinking about this cliff effect that's coming. And there are organizations that aren't funding OST. And so we want to reach out to them and say, you need to. It's an essential service and it needs more support. And we want to see more funders come forward to support the field. Okay, I'm going to just pause there for a minute and just let people comment, chat, see if there's anything that anybody wants to add around what we've covered so far, because we really want this to be an interactive conversation. And feel free to come off of mute as well at any point. So Maxine, do you want to come off mute and add that, please?
No, I just was saying, I think one of the other things we want to hear from funders is if their funding priorities for OST have changed, and if so, how and why, and what their new priorities are. So I think, as Megan said, one of the next steps for us is really reaching out to the funding community to understand what's going on in their world as well.
Okay. Okay, so what are we seeing as what to do with this information and how to proceed as we start to reach out to funders, legislators, and the public, and just making them more aware of this essential service. So one thing we thought of is changing the narrative. We need to get the point across that after school and summer learning is essential. And not only is it needed for parents to get back to work, but they provide a space for whole child support, that learning really continues after school. Data proves that youth that participate in comprehensive after-school programs have improved academics, attendance, and behavior. And we need to engage with funders with this narrative to increase funding opportunities for after-school and summer programs, to encourage them to provide more general operating. I'm in the second column here. So the other piece of this is the next thing we want to do is meet with the funders and talk with them about what the funding needs are. And also, as Maxine said, have they changed the way that they're funding the after school and summer field, and why? We want to talk to them about this potential cliff effect that we're seeing after the ESSER dollars are gone. And of course, impressing upon them that there are 398,000 kids in Colorado that would be in after school if a program was available to them. So giving them some of the data.
And Megan, in regards to Maxine's comment and point, Natalie from Mile High 360 just commented that she feels like funders are always changing their priorities. So they're having to find new sources on a continual basis, which goes to the same point of the constant fundraising taking away from the really important parts.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't focus on providing the services if you're always having to look for money.
Hey, Megan, can I add something to what Jennifer was saying?
Yeah.
This is Eric from my I wonder why there's the constant shift in priorities. If that shifting is because funders aren't looking at the same data that we're looking at, possibly. Or that they are looking for more immediate change, but we all know that this is a long-term effort. This is a marathon, not a sprint. But I'm not sure that our funders think of it as a marathon rather than a sprint. And if they are funding, I think asking why, and I think Maxine alluded to that as well. I'm not certainly the first to suggest that, but really, what data are they relying on to make those decisions, and understanding what's at the core of their search for a funding priority.
Yeah, and as they have shifting priorities, then it makes it means that you have to shift your priorities to continue to get the funding, right? And so you can't focus on what you're wanting to focus on. So the last piece of this is finding our champions. Ideally, I want to see a state after school fund, a permanent state funded line of money going to after school and summer in our state. And that doesn't really exist yet. So that's really the ultimate goal here, is to increase funding from the state for after school and summer learning, so that all youth in Colorado have access to quality after school and summer learning. So this final piece is, figuring out who are the people that are who are the people that are going to help us get there? Who are our champions in the legislation? Who do we need to connect with and make sure that they're helping us lift this message up? Okay. And finally, how you all can help, what we're asking of you is just kind of, we're going to provide some tools after this session by email around messaging, and just us coordinating the messaging around it being an essential service, that it is not a sprint, it's a marathon, so that funders can understand what the need is and understand and have consistent data. Like all these things are important to make sure that we have a cohesive message.
And Megan, I'd love to quickly elevate something that Lisa just posted, Lisa Holmes Swaney. And it's something we've been hearing on a regular basis. Funding to offset the increasing wages needed to find quality staff has to be a high priority. Child care providers across the country are leaving the field at alarming levels, and we're finding it hard to find funders for salary needs. And this is, you know, Lisa, you're not alone. We're hearing this on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so consistent messaging, consistent data use, working together to help us lift up these important messages as a field. And also we wanted to ask that if you have found an innovative way to communicate with funders or to get those messages out, we would love to hear that, and we'd love to share that with each other so we can build this up together. And also just keep us in the loop of what you're hearing and where you think we might be able to provide assistance. And finally, here are some of the next steps that we are thinking of, and we wanted to get your feedback on what you thought of this. So one thing is to reopen the survey and to get more data around what your funding challenges are. And then also working on common messaging. So we, in the next couple of months, we're going to be releasing some one-pagers that we've worked on together that bring in all of this information, not only the data of what's happening in Colorado and the shortage of availability to families and youth, but also the challenges of funding, this potential cliff effect that's coming after relief dollars are dried up. So we have that coming out. So just keep an eye out for that. We also are working on a funder survey to help understand, you know, like some of the things that have come up today, like the priorities are shifting, and can you help us understand more about that? Are you currently funding after school? If not, why not? You know, what are your priorities over the next couple of years? Those kind of questions. So we would like to get some help developing that survey. And we're looking to get that out later this year. And then in 2022, we're looking to do a funder convening to begin a dialogue around the needs of the field. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the stop share. I just want to open this up for conversation and see if people have thoughts, feedback. Are we moving in the right direction? Is this what you need? Is this helpful? We want to hear from all of you.
This is Yoli. How are you?
Hi.
So first, thank you for doing this. I think everybody here, speak for myself, but thank you for actually taking the time to do this. And absolutely, I mean, you know, I've been taught, one of the ideas, I think, just quickly here is that I've been talking with the Colorado Health Foundation. They had a physical activity and after school program in the past, and they're now starting to change. And I've asked multiple times that I needed to speak with somebody to understand why that is. And I think what they turned around and said, you know, we need to understand why this is so important, or what you just said, what do you need is so many years and the changes. And so I think it would be great if many of us, if all of us can come together and get some talking points, because I believe that many of those foundations are a little lost, or they need our input, they need our data that we're showing, because I am working with them and saying, you can't just let go of something that you helped us start. And now we're like 1,200 children and we need help. And we just, every year, I can't even keep the staff. So I think everything that we're saying, if we can come up with all of us that have experience and data on this and start talking to them, they're ready to listen. They like to have guidelines. They want us to show us how important it is. Like Eric said, how important it is to have high quality, to know that the funding that we have right now, I mean, we had to use the COVID funding to make this happen, but I know it's going to go away. So I think ideas coming together and getting the right information and going as a group, as a coalition, and talking to the funders, it will help them because they're looking for, all right, tell me, show me, why is this important? I get you. So thank you for this.
And this is Natalie. Sorry, my camera's not working. I agree with Yoli. Hi, Yoli. That, you know, so many nonprofits stay kind of in the same budget except for programming, and sometimes salaries don't ever get increased. No, we're always going to have this position at this salary. And there's such a huge cost of living increase right now in Denver, especially Denver. I'm sure Colorado as a whole, but it's hard to retain staff and cultivate them and give them the professional development to make them feel like they should stay invested in the marathon and not just in the 200 meter. So, you know, I agree with Yoli. I do believe the Caring for Colorado did a similar survey. I'm not sure if it was with funders or nonprofits or both, but I know they're also kind of looking into that. But yeah, I mean, it's the constant shifting. It's the constant, well, we funded after school program for 10 years. So now we want to put our money into workforce development. So instead of like adding, they take away and then add something else.
Thank you. And when you say Caring for Colorado did a similar survey, they did one around after school and summer.
I'm not sure exactly what it was,
Okay.
but I know they did kind of a funder, like they were, what do you need from funders? What would be, so kind of that piece. But I agree with Yoli. Yeah, this is the first year I've noticed that the Colorado Health Foundation did not have the kind of physical healthy activity after school bucket. It really switched to like trauma-informed care and mental health and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think to that point, it's like, what is the collective narrative that we're saying as comprehensives? Like, we're doing all that in this holistic way. Like, it's not, we're not like saying we're doing trauma-informed care, but what we're doing is hitting all those buckets because we have that safe place. I mean, we have as comprehensive a system set up where we are nurturing the whole child. And so how do we share that to everyone, that it's not just like, oh, today it's trauma informed, tomorrow it's Be Active, you know, the next day it's SEL, that we do all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something else we have been thinking a lot about is for those of you who receive 21st century funding, you know, that is designed to expand programs in Colorado. And you need to find funding for when that is done, right? And so we've got this E2 and these cohorts that are going to be ending, you know, in the next 3 to 5 years. And again, you've got to, where do you go after that? And so like we're growing it, but there needs to be a place for you to go to continue your funding. And you're all having to kind of fight for that funding because there's only so many funders that fund it, right?
Right. And then, you know, to Eric's point about a marathon, not a sprint, our program, you either start in 6th, 8th, or 9th grade and go through age 24. So that's what the constant cyclical funding, you know, searching for the best funding. And, you know, we've had declinations this year and, you know, I've talked to them and they're like, well, we've been giving it to you for a while, so we're going to give it to someone else. Or we gave it to you last year and now it's somebody else's turn. So it's really, it's frustrating. We do know individual donors are more sustainable and we are moving towards that. But it's, you know, it's not always easy to just automatically say, oh, we've got a, you know, 10,000 a month monthly giving program.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just share something, my name is Chase Everett. I'm a owner of School of Breaking in Aurora, Colorado. We educate people, students on hip hop culture and breaking, also known as breakdance. We do after school programming throughout Colorado. Been teaching school programs for about 16 years. Our intention is to be able to have, alternative forms of physical education besides athletics or besides competition, allowing different resources for music, for dance, for arts, and just over the past 16 years, recognizing the importance of these types of services and these types of disciplines that need to be applied in our schools for the kids. And after school, having a community, having mentorship, having outlets for expression, having activities that are alternative, that are physical, that doesn't rely on just playing with a ball or something like that. Allows students to express themselves, to really tune into their bodies, to develop a sense of self, to develop their self-esteem, to develop their character, their discipline, their patience. All these qualities are incredibly important in terms of helping to develop a child, a young boy or a young girl, so that as they grow into adult, they can, be more contributors to our society. They can find purpose in their lives. So that we're kind of here to just as observers, just to see the bigger picture. But we just run school programs, and the dance program that we do is when COVID happened, everything got shut down. And but recognizing the importance of movement, the importance of music, the importance of dance and expression, is just solidified our purpose even more to keep pursuing this, because kids need it. They need those different forms of outlets.
Yep, and that feeling of community and connection. And Chase, something, somebody was asking what the name of your company is. Chase, something to think about is partnerships with comprehensive after school programs, because this sounds like something that would be really neat to bring into a comprehensive program. So, and I don't know how you're getting your name out there for what you all are doing, but that's just an idea I have, is figuring out where your comprehensive programs are in your area and bringing what you have to them and working out a partnership there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Chase, can you share the name of your company in the chat for everyone, please?
Yeah, definitely. We're called School of Breaking, and we're located in Aurora. And I will, our website, schoolofbreaking.com, but I'm going to give you the link to our school programs page. And we're a company that was built from scratch. We're dancers, B-boys, B-girls from the Colorado hip hop community. But we recognize just in our own community within hip hop culture, the lack of education in hip hop. So a lot of people, hip hop is used in marketing in America, all over the world, but not realizing that this is an American born culture that came from New York City and has a deep rooted history in America when it comes to our people. And so it's important to be able to educate everyone that we can on this culture, because it's so rooted in America, but then also the importance of music and dance as well. So very, very important. We right now are mostly working with the YMCA. We were also working with the Colorado I Have a Dream Foundation. We've worked also in the past with the Boys and Girls Club. And we've been trying to find a way to allow foundations that have funding for school programming to understand what the importance of dance can be for schools and providing more outlets for children, because dancing is innate in humans. Kids will dance before they walk, they will sing before they talk. And so this is something that can be nurtured, not with the intention to make someone become a dancer, but to utilize the tools within dance to develop the human.
Thank you, Chase. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, everyone.
Megan, this is Katrina from the Denver Y, and I just kind of want to piggyback on everything Chase was saying. Being a comprehensive partner and working with some pretty incredible enrichment providers like Chase's company, and I think where we, a lot of the funders that you had up on that slide, and I apologize, I am in a childcare center, so I can't turn my camera on right now. But I think where we have had success in the last couple of years with a lot of those private partners, not to take away from a lot of the immediate funding we've received in the last 18 months as a result of COVID, and, where people just giving out dollars because they know that organizations are hurting and all that. But where we have seen the most success with a lot of our private funders, Raleigh R. Kelly is a great example, is to bring their people, there are people behind those foundations. And OST is so nuanced in how we talk about, the data is important, but for them to come into our programs and see kids dancing and breakdancing, to see kids getting healthy snacks, to talk about like food distribution and wraparound services that OST provides, to talk about that summer learning loss, and to really see it for themselves, I think has been the most meaningful way that we've been able to retain and recruit more of those sustainable funders. Because we also have 21st century dollars, and we know that those term every 5 years, and we're always chasing after those again. Those are what are enabling us to retain our phenomenal enrichment providers. But how can we get those private funders who do have the capacity and the bandwidth to sustain our programs into the future? And that's really, it's hard in COVID, but it's really getting them in and letting them see these kids just thrive and grow and like seeing their smile. So that's my 2 cents. And I think Chase is spot on that's, like when you see these kids just being themselves and growing outside of the structure of the academic school day, that's the best way for us, I feel, to retain and recruit funders.
Yeah. It's helping funders understand that it's that after school is so rich and so supportive, and you're connected to the community, you're connected to those families in a way that they aren't experiencing during the school day. And you're also helping them with their academics, right? So you're doing so much. And this is why it's just one of the reasons that it's an essential service. Like, we've got to have more of this available. And so, but I want to lift up a question that Reagan asked. I'd be curious to hear if folks are hesitant, excited, about our next step, about doing a funder convening to talk about the industry, creative ideas to share, any reservations, any thoughts about our plans to do that, and also to do a funder survey in the future. Just wanted to see what people think of that.
I think that's an absolutely great idea. This is Natalie from Mile High 360. I think we need to know what the next action steps are. What do we need to do? What do you need to do? How can we get the ball rolling in a way that is effective and, we're heard?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
You know what I will say, if responding to the survey, if you haven't already, is one way that can really help us, because that's part of the data that we'll be using when we go to speak to funders. And so that's always going to be helpful, is if we are asking for information, we're doing it with the thought and intent behind to go out there and advocate for all the great work that you're doing. And so if you haven't responded, I think that's a good next step for you.
And I'm going to put the reopened survey link here on the chat, just as a just in case. Give me just a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, Megan, I think Heather has a good point in the chat about really working with other funding collaboratives or whatever to make sure that we are being collaborative with our funding. So I think that's a good point as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I just jump in and share one of the challenges? This is Lakeisha Hodge. I'm with the Struggle of Love Foundation. And we do in-school and after-school programming in far northeast Montbello Green Valley area. And just wanted to share some of the challenges that we have with funding. Oftentimes, the funding that we receive is reimbursable. And so for us, if it wasn't for the overflow of funding coming in due to COVID, we really wouldn't have been able to operate our programs on a reimbursable basis. And so we're essentially asking people to volunteer their time and work for 12 weeks until we can get you paid. And that's really a difficult conversation to have with facilitators that are here showing up every day and pouring into these children and making sure that they have a safe place to go and meaningful programs to interact with. And so that's just something that I would want to bring up when you do have this collaboration meeting with funders is we can't operate that way. And I know there's many programs that exist that are kind of in the secret society that can't operate because of the reimbursement structure of funding. It's hard to cover those costs and then wait to get reimbursed. Oftentimes you don't even have the funding to cover the cost. And so you can't operate your program. And I just feel like there's a lot of organizations that could fill that gap that we were talking about earlier to increase some programming in the communities where it's needed, but they can't work based on a reimbursable funding structure. So that's just some challenges I just wanted to share because our organization is slowly growing. And now we're able to sustain and operate in a way where we can go out for reimbursable funds. And we're okay doing that, but I know there's others that cannot. And so I'm really advocating and speaking for them right now.
Thank you.
And to Lakeisha's point is to make sure when you do submit a reimbursable invoice, it's paid in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
Our organization had to make changes to that because we would literally work 6 weeks, 12 weeks without receiving pay. And yet we have to cover the cost of our instructors. And so we had to change the way we did things so that whoever we partner with almost respected the organization and what the services were. So now it's just monthly invoices, but it was a challenge to get some kind of a change there to feel supported.
All right. Okay, any other thoughts, comments, things you want us to know? I am happy to meet some of you for the first time today, and thank you for what you do for our youth and families in Colorado. And just know that Colorado After School Partnership is advocating for what you're doing. And DAA is too, and we are here for you. So reach out to us if you have ideas, suggestions, things you're seeing that you think we need to know about. That is why we exist. That is why we are here. We are your advocates. I also want to just point out Lights On After School behind me here. It's coming up. Lights On After School is a national recognition of after school. And it's important, you know, when you talked about things you can do, that's something you can do, participating in that, registering your event. And really, there's some great tools on the After School Alliance website for reaching out to your families and your communities to help them understand that you need to keep the lights on. Is literally what that's about. So we will share some information about Lights On After School in our follow-up email, and is October 28th. And CAP will be down at the City and County building from 5 to 7 for the lighting of the City and County building. It's going to be lit orange. That's actually what's behind me right now, in honor of after school. Oh yeah, thanks Jennifer for putting that in there. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, Megan Nice with Colorado After School Partnership, Megan at coloradoafterschoolpartnership.org. And Denver After School Alliance, I think a lot of you are connected to them already, but we are here to help, and we look forward to, we'll be reaching out to you to get your feedback on our surveys that we're thinking about doing with our funders and our focus groups. And we'll continue to provide some tools for common messaging. Please do take the survey if you haven't yet. Anything else? Anybody else want to? DAA, Maxine, Reagan, you guys want to add anything?
Only thing I'll add is when you guys get the messaging document, love to hear your thoughts and feedback on that as well.
Wonderful. Okay. And let's see, I think that's it. Thank you so much for being here today. Again, we'll send a follow-up email to everyone here with some links and also some upcoming events that CAP wants to share out, and maybe DA has some things they want to share too. So we'll get an email out to you, and we just look forward to more conversation about this and hearing what you all need.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.